Doug, you want to start the meeting?
Okay. This is Douglas Dunn, Chair of the City of Bisbee Planning and Zoning Commission. We're meeting July 15th, 2021, 5:30 p.m. by Zoom. I call the meeting to order. Roll call. Tom Ballas.
Here.
Douglas Dunn here. Sandy Hoosman.
Here.
Nancy Parana.
Here.
Jennifer Ginger Ryan.
Here.
Mike Smitzer.
Here.
And Mike Ablin.
Here.
Louis Pollock, the council liaison to the commission. And Joe Ward, staff liaison.
Yep.
First of all, call to the public. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on an agenda item or any item other than the agenda, established agenda? The agenda item 1 is discussion and possible approval to elect a vice chair for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Do I have any suggestions or nominations?
What are the responsibilities of the vice chair?
To convene the meeting when I'm not around.
Nancy, I think you would be good at that.
Well, I was gonna say Ginger. I think Ginger would be good at that.
I second Nancy's nomination.
Okay. I have a proposal then that we elect Nancy Parana as vice chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'll do a roll call vote. John Ballas,
Yes.
Douglas Dunn, yes. Sandy Hoosman,
Yes.
Nancy Parana for yourself,
Sure.
Ginger Ryan,
Yes.
okay, Mike Setzla,
Yes.
and Mike Ablin.
Yes.
Okay, as unanimous election then. And certainly if I have a problem with a disconnection out here in the wilderness, Nancy, you'll take over. Agenda item 2,
Excuse me.
update regarding parking plan and study for Old Bisbee. Hiring of Judy Anderson to complete a single report to review all the various studies that have been done and to prepare a report for us and the city council. Joe, do you want to speak on this?
Did somebody second the nomination of Nancy?
I
Yeah,
did.
Ginger Ryan did.
Okay, I had you for second. Who nominated?
Sandy.
Who did?
Sandy.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. I'm gonna mark this down and then I'll get going with the program here. Okay. As far as the hiring Judy Anderson, I have not talked to Judy Anderson yet. I'm kind of swamped with things I'm taking care of. But I did talk with Mike about it the other day, but that's as far as I've gotten with it. That's Mike Anderson, her husband. But of course.
Okay, I did talk with Judy and she indicated, that yes, she was willing to do this.
Okay, very good. Judy is such a nice lady. Thank you.
And of course, Louis Pollock likewise has background in this area and is willing to work with her. And I indicated that to her. And so I think we have two people who are, extremely qualified and kind of pulling things together and moving this forward. I don't believe there's any action to be taken. But I did, Joe, please follow up in a formal way with her, with Judy.
I'm taking some notes, so I'm gonna be quiet for a minute. Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, agenda item 3 is to review, discussion, update the language for a mobile food vendors, food truck with possible directions to staff. And there are certainly a number of items that were presented to us, that Joe presented to us for our review and comment. It indicates here in the agenda that we're looking at such things as purpose, definitions, mobile home vendor, business license required, exceptions, mobile home vendor license application. Joe, would you like to make some comments here? You
Yeah,
again
we've
provide
got
a lot of information to us.
Those first couple of pages, and this is Sandy's work, not mine, but Linwood, Washington, kind of gonna use that for some boilerplate. And we've got what they've got there, and it all seems pretty reasonable and logical. But I'd like to hear how the commission feels about these first 2 pages, especially since those are the ones that we're specifically, I think we're working on. Those on the agenda, having to do with the business licenses and the licensing of the trucks. Or they're not all trucks, of course, but they're the units and.
I read most of I think there were 32 pages, that we sent, something like that. I think that a lot of it looks really good. There wasn't anything that raised a red flag for me, so like I said, I didn't go through the whole thing, but I went through the majority of it, and a lot of it looks pretty much in line with something that I'd like to see in the city of Bisbee.
Yeah, the latter part of it, which is the greater part of it, was City of Phoenix regulations, which aren't bad either. But then we got what the health department, or it's state rules there. But Nina's the one who puts this together. She worked really hard on this, and I can't take credit for what she's done.
I too read it. Actually, I tried to read it several times. And the part about the city of Phoenix that concerned were the setbacks for where the mobile unit is located. They don't apply to Bisbee. And the second thing was, I had a question. Next to us at the current farmers market at La Ramada is a wonderful couple that sell coffee and coffee beans. And they do it out of a converted horse trailer, which actually is very clever and well done and clean. But when I read these requirements, I wasn't sure the horse trailer would qualify.
I think that any of the licensed vehicles, including trailers, and that as long as the health department has, because personally, I don't have any authority when it comes to vehicles. That's all ADOT and health department.
But the vehicles are listed in this paperwork, that they have to be movable and not in one place too long, those sorts of things. So anyway, I just, the converted horse trailer works. I don't know how the health inspector feels about it, but it's still there.
Is that on private property?
Well, La Ramada, I think, is private
Okay.
property. Yeah.
I think it depends what we're looking at. Are we looking at, because I tried to read the City of Phoenix's, but wow, was that restrictive and detailed? And I don't know if we need to be that restrictive and detailed.
I think the fewer words, the better, very often in these kind of things, unless a problem comes up.
I like what Sandy did. It seemed applicable to this situation.
Ginger, do you think that with the health department, I think that their biggest concern is that the surfaces are clean and washable, like with a restaurant. Do you think that would be an issue with that horse trailer?
I haven't had that experience with the health department. That's a piece of it, but they're more concerned at a restaurant level with 3 compartment sinks and appropriate sanitation and hoods over range tops. And I don't know what kind of license the coffee trailer has with the health department. Mine is different. I have to have a food protection manager certification and a business license, but I'm not sure they do, because they're producing coffee on site, but it's not a food that is potentially hazardous. So I don't think their licensing is the same. I know it's not. They wouldn't have to meet the same criteria. Food health is really concerned about are foods that are affected by time and temperature. So if it's supposed to be hot and it cools down for too long, that can encourage bacteria. Or if you leave potato salad out all day in the sun, that kind of thing. So
We're very fortunate to have you participating in this discussion, Ginger, because you've got more experience than anybody in that.
oh, thank you.
And wouldn't that be, wouldn't that be covered more by reference to Cochise County
Yes.
health than our regulations anyway?
Yes, but Nancy's question was whether the horse trailer would have surfaces that needed to be sanitized under health department codes. So I kind of went off on it. I apologize.
Well, going back to Sandy's summary of what's been presented to us, do we want to work off of that?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, there wasn't anything that raised a red flag for me.
Okay,
I had a couple of changes.
go for it.
I only really went through what we had on the agenda through the application, but on the first, under the definitions, I was going to delete B, which was mobile food preparation vehicle, because nowhere in my pages did I reference that. That came off of somebody else's. So I didn't reference it, so I think we should remove that one, because we do have vending unit, which covers the vehicle. So B would be eliminated.
Okay, you got that?
The other question I have for the group, well, I guess it's just nitpicky, but under mobile food vendor, the wording I have here came from Linwood, I think, but I don't know if we need to expand. I've got a seller of food where somebody else listed it as a person who sells, serves, or gives away food.
What's the concern with that?
Whether we should expand, instead of what I have here as a mobile food vendor means a seller of food from a mobile food preparation van, etc., to a person who sells, serves, or gives away food versus a seller of food.
You're trying to include things like Gore Park lunches? Was that the point?
Not really. I was just looking at other definitions that we have in front of us. Do we just want to leave it seller of food from a mobile food prep van?
That seems appropriate.
Okay.
Okay.
And
What was one of the major parameters, Sandy, I appreciate all the labor you've done on this, was one of the parameters food service facilities that don't have a foundation. Otherwise, they're not a fixed locale. They're essentially on wheels. They're portable.
Yeah, yeah. The vending unit is designed as a facility that's not on a permanent foundation. Yeah. The only other thing I think I questioned on this was under the license requirement, license required exemptions, A says, and again, this came from Linwood, persons, firms, or corporations who conduct a casual or isolated sale and who are not engaged in the business of selling the type of food involved. I'm not quite sure who that would apply to.
Churches like St. Pat's, fish and chips, and whatever they have. That it's the women's club that does it, but the church is not a regular vendor.
Okay. And they do that out of
And
a cart or truck or,
no, well, sometimes it's moved outside, but most often it's from the community room.
okay. I just didn't know who that would pertain to, so I didn't know if it should be in there.
Yeah. Like the American Legion could have a barbecue out on their deck, and Mhm.
So they would be exempt from this, a license as a yeah, okay. Okay.
Maybe I
No,
missed
I
it,
have-
but yeah, maybe I missed it, but are we prescribing specific zones and locales? Like, do we want to group these up, group up these food trucks in one location to be like a customer draw, like put it at like City Park or someplace where it's going to draw people to downtown into the Gulch? Are we thinking about prescribing a zone? Maybe I missed that. Maybe it's in there.
I don't think we've addressed it.
Okay.
I don't think that we,
yeah,
yeah, I don't think that we are prescribing a zone, frankly.
Okay.
So I have a
Mike?
question about item number 1. A site plan, a simple sketch of the site layout depicting ingress and egress. Are we insinuating, Joe, that as a mobile truck, that they're going to have to abide by ingress and egress zoning laws? Or is it on a case-by-case basis? And is it subjective versus objective? I mean, it
On a
gets
case-to-case basis. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
I think it'd be on a case-to-case basis because it depends upon the site and how egress would work. That I don't think one size fits all by any means in this case.
So what are we going to use to determine if, you know, perhaps it's in the way of a right-of-way or anything of that nature? That's just a call, as you said, on a case-by-case basis?
Yeah, well, they're not allowed to be on public property except for, I'm trying to think of where the, because it's talking about here about the special, the city would be, you know, like we do with the, at the farmer's market. But as a rule, you're not allowed to be on public property selling. You have to be on private property, and it's got to be zoned for being able to, it can't be residential zoning either.
So then the verbiage that it is truly mobile sort of circumvents the ingress and egress zoning laws.
Right. And I think that
Right.
happens, that people tend to try to get around a law is always just it's something that very many people look at as how are we going to get around this? And they go from there. They try to, but we want them to be mobile. We don't want them to be sitting in a static location.
So I've referred to mobile food vendors on both public and private property. Because I've got a copy here of and this is the most I can find, and I don't know what happened to it, but there was in the state of Arizona, a House bill with what you can prescribe and what you can't. And one of the things on here talked about you may not prohibit or restrict a mobile food vendor from operating on public property. So I don't even know if this has passed, but are we talking about strictly private property?
Except for, let's see, I just had it. There it is, where it's the second page of the Linwood, or the stuff that had come from Linwood, I believe, that Sandy's been working on, the restrictions applicable to mobile food vendors. It said mobile food vending on public streets and public right of way within the limits of the city shall not be permitted unless approved as an authorized participant in a city approved special event, including a festival, sports tournament, similar activity. And I did make a note there for the farmer's market, which of course is appropriate. And the city does allow those.
I'm sorry, where was that? Where did you read that from?
It's right there. It's the second page of the fine printed, the second page of what we have for the suggestions for mobile food vending zoning code provisions. It's this display of licenses, the top one. The second one is restrictions applicable to all mobile food vendors. That's the one I was reading from.
Well, while Sandy is locating that, I was thinking about what John said. And I think he's referring back to a suggestion that came before the commission about having a specified place for mobile food vendors like they do in Los Angeles and other cities, that on Bisbee Road, that all the food vendors go to one spot at certain times. Is that what you were remembering? Yeah.
I think that'd be beneficial.
Well, it would certainly help with drawing a crowd, because they know, and they publicize it all on Facebook, and they can get a crowd to converge in a particular place, so they could have more of a chance of selling their wares.
But since we have nothing that would prohibit that, we can encourage it, but we'd have to find a location, or a city location that would work.
The parking lot overlooking the pit.
Yep. It's exactly
yeah.
what you say, Ginger.
That's under ADOT control, though, I believe.
You say ADOT controls that?
Yep.
Well, my opinion
I have
on
a
that
question.
is, somebody else is going to speak. I was going to say what my opinion on that, I'll get back to you, Mike. My opinion on this is that I think that we should look to someone to bring such a proposal to us rather than the city trying to identify an appropriate location for a central location for food trucks, which I think could be an endless task in itself, and one more thing that Joe does not have time for. I personally think that this is something that if someone has a proposal, has a parcel of land that they think would be appropriate for a group location for a food truck, then they would bring that to us or to Joe for review. But I think it would be a very difficult task to initiate something along that line by the city, for the city to initiate that, or for Joe to initiate that. Mike, did you have your hand in the air?
I did. I have a question on page 2 under restrictions and applicable to all mobile food vendors. Specifically, item E as in Edward, the use of portable or vehicle mounted generators to supply electricity for a mobile vending operation is prohibited. Am I understanding that somebody has a generator, they cannot use the generator as part of their operation? Am I understanding that correctly?
No. No, generators are important for mobile food trucks.
I understand, and it's saying the use of a portable or vehicle mounted generator to supply electricity for a mobile vending operation is prohibited.
That would be a unit that's not mounted on the vehicle. It would be a standalone unit versus.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I've never, I mean, almost every food truck I know uses some sort of a portable Honda generator for auxiliary stuff above and beyond what's affixed to their truck, whether it's for music or lights or whatever. So just want to make sure I'm understanding that this is saying that that's not allowed. Yeah, Joe.
You know, we've had a lot of complaints about the people that, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to always sell the pulled pork out there in front of Barco's Ice. And there's a lot of complaints about the generator there. But you know, there's different levels of generators. There's some of them that are really quiet. There's a big, huge industrial one that they're using there at the hospital administration expansion. And it's unbelievably quiet. I'd love to have one of those. I mean, they're producing a lot of power, but it produces no noise. But we've got other ones that are like they sound like a lawnmower. They got a Briggs & Stratton engine attached to it, and you know, and it's very unpleasant for the neighbors. So that's something maybe we should consider, that there's a way to limit the sound.
Put like a certain decibel level.
Yeah, it'd be, and those things are really hard. The police and myself too, but we don't like to get involved in, you know, having to produce. That the attorneys have told us before, if we've got to go around with decibel meters and we've got to have those meters calibrated and so on, that it's a slippery slope that we don't want to go down either.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a way that we can have this friendly for the neighbors as well as useful. Something just to think about.
Well, because then you're going to get yourself, if it's on public property in an entertainment district or another area where commercial is allowed, and you have a food truck like the Stewart's beef truck or whatever it is, if he's zoned for it, but then now we're putting restrictions on his noise capabilities. So you're right, it's a slippery slope. On one hand, you're allowing somebody to do something for commercial purposes, but then on the same token, you're restricting certain noise levels or decibels. So that could prohibit him from being able to do what he wants to do.
You can imagine.
It's just something to think about. I mean,
You can imagine the guests out there that sit out on the sidewalk at the table, listening to that generator next door.
No argument here. I just reading this and presenting it. You know, if we're in a commercial zone and you're saying that they can operate in a certain area, but then at the same token, you're putting limitations on their noise or some of their equipment, which is it? And I agree, you know, you're sitting outside at the table and he's got that generator cranking. And to your point, John, do you get involved with decibel levels? And, you know, noise is obviously is an ongoing concern as Bisbee grows and develops. And there's concern about it. So, you know, just I'm presenting to you what anyone who operates a food service truck, they all have generators.
Other comments on this?
Excuse me. Are we looking at the whole thing right now or just the part that was on the agenda? Because if we're looking at general requirements, we haven't addressed toilet facilities or signage.
We have to look at only what's on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just taking small bites.
Okay, I have one quick thing toward the end, under the application, number 5. A separate license is required for each mobile, that should be vending unit. So it fits in with the definitions instead of food unit.
What's the next step here, Joe? I guess at this point, we're working from Sandy's proposal and we've eliminated part B from definitions, I believe it was. Everything else, we're moving forward.
Does anybody think that the application fee is on the high side?
Yes,
What is it?
was it 345 or
Yeah.
something? Was
On what?
for a vendor's license, I think. Was high, I agree.
You're looking at the city of Phoenix.
Yeah,
Oh,
Those
because
are,
I left that blank.
That would be covered under the city's fee schedule, right, Joe? This wouldn't be part of this particular ordinance.
you're correct. But I think that the commissioners should be making a recommendation when we get this all finalized to the mayor and council as far as what you guys feel the fee schedule would be appropriate.
I just don't want it to be so high that it's prohibitive. You don't want it to be reasonable, so you keep fly-by-nights out, but if it's too high, then it scares some people off, but
well, you have to keep in mind, it's just one of the fees that a mobile vendor will pay. And for the next meeting, if you'd like, I'll put together a list of what the cost is to have a mobile food unit, to pay for your business license and your health license. And I mean, it all adds up. It's a lot.
Okay, that would be helpful. Other suggestions in terms of what do we do next?
Well, will we put the rest of this on next month's agenda?
Okay, be specific in terms of what the rest, what more
Well,
we need to add.
We have gone through mobile food vendor license application. So we need to go to mobile food vendor license fee, display of license, the restrictions and the general regulations. That's what's left.
I'll
Can
make a
you-
motion. Can I? No.
Well, at this point, this is not a formal, not agendized for formal action, but we certainly, you just make your proposal.
I was just gonna say we break this up into components so as not to, try to absorb all this in one shot, if at all possible. To Ginger's point, maybe we approve, one section, make some comments, and then have some discussions about the other sections and so forth. But it's not my intention to drag it out either.
Well,
I
it seemed
think
like
that's
there's,
what we're doing.
right, I think there's a general consensus with what Sandy has presented to us with the one deletion. And Sandy, would you be willing to bring the 3 items that you indicated and add those to your statement?
Well, those are in what was sent to you. However many we decide to review at the next meeting, I guess is up to us or Joe or whatever fits on the agenda.
Well, you've done a nice job of summarizing as a point.
Thank you.
I think that what Sandy proposed was going further down the list to is probably what would make sense.
Sorry.
Are you willing to do that, Sandy, in terms of pulling what you think is appropriate that's out of the other material that's been provided to us and add it to your statement?
Yes, I'm just more than what I have already prepared, or I'm a little confused.
Well, you had indicated there was 3 sections, 3 parts that were not yet part of this. And that's what I was referring to.
I think they're included in your agenda. We just,
Right.
for the sake of discussion, I think whoever developed the agenda just put part of them on for today and was going to do the rest of them at another meeting. Is that right, Joe?
That's accurate.
Okay. So, but I'll certainly work, I'll work with Joe or Nina or whoever, because I'll add some draft language regarding toilet facilities. Do we need that? And signage.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay,
There's
Thank you,
certainly-
Sandy. Thank
sure.
you for all your labors on this.
You're welcome.
Because certainly what was presented to us was quite extensive, and so it makes discussion difficult. So when you present something to us as you have already, then it makes discussion much easier. We can agree or disagree and move forward.
And I would hope that others would look through that mound of other codes that were presented to us in case I've left something out. And Joe, if someone from staff could help me in referencing any city or zoning codes or Arizona, even state requirements that I may have missed.
Okay.
I'll be glad to work with someone on that.
Well, I think that's what we need to do next. And of course, Ginger is the one who's had the most experience
Yeah,
and certainly has brought to us that experience in this discussion so far. So
It's tough to make a living in food.
Challenging.
Really, especially after the past year.
oh, yeah.
So glad Cafe Roca survived.
yeah, we're finding this in our travels right here, this already that finding restaurant and food facilities and outlying areas is not easy.
Yeah.
It's difficult to, after going through the pandemic, some businesses didn't survive or reorganized, and all of them are having difficulty finding workers.
Yeah,
You're gonna see a big change now that Arizona has done away with the unemployment. A lot of restaurants now are really starting to get employees back and fill up rather quickly, especially here in the
Oh.
Tucson area. I'm sorry?
Okay, then that will be brought forward to us at our next meeting. Sandy will work with Joe and Ginger and others. Please, any of you who have specific suggestions for Sandy, please pass those on to her. And that we'll work from her initial draft or proposal and at our next meeting. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay, commissioner comments. I guess we're at that point. Does any other commissioner have any comments that they wish to make, and certainly refrain from any discussion. These were comments only, particularly in terms of future agenda items. None? Then I guess we're ready to adjourn. Certainly, Nancy, I thank you for coming on as vice chair, and I will certainly inform you if I anticipate that I will not be present in a meeting. I'll certainly give you a heads up. So, but certainly you've observed at least my approach in terms of running these meetings, and it's just a matter of being a facilitator of the agenda. So I thank you. Do we have a meeting or a motion for adjournment?
Don't,
Joe?
yeah, there was a future agenda item suggestion.
Okay.
Would you like to have August meeting in person?
Oh,
I can't make the August, so I'm just letting you know early.
I cannot make the August meeting either.
uh-oh.
Other than-
Probably attend on Zoom if we had a hybrid meeting. But it's up to you guys. You're the commission.
I would attempt to, as I am doing here today, to be present in a Zoom meeting in August, but I will not be in Bisbee for the August meeting.
And I will be in the middle of a river in Idaho, so I won't be available at all.
Oh,
Hey,
nice.
That's an excuse.
yeah. Hopefully in a vessel, in a boat or something.
Whitewater rafting. I've never done it, and I'm going whitewater rafting.
Is it the middle fork?
It's the middle fork of the.
Oh, hey,
I
it's a
did
good
that.
one.
Well, do we want to postpone the August meeting to a September meeting? Is there any urgency? This is our prime agenda item.
We have two property sales that have been
Okay.
being advertised for August.
Okay,
I think there's a different dynamic when people are in person. And
I
I
agree.
like the idea of actually seeing people.
But we won't have a chair or vice chair if we do it in person.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone can convene the meeting, so.
Will we have a quorum in August?
Shall we just plan on another Zoom meeting for next month?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
anything else? Again, is our motion for an adjournment?
So moved.
oh,
Second,
I'll second.
Okay, we are adjourned. I thank you.
Thank you,
thank you,
Joe.
guys.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sandy.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
Sandy.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Guys.
Oh, Nancy's gone, darn it.